Alright, so I got one more blip for you. Alright, so I just went to a new document just to start fresh in here. I'm going to make the animation first, and then I'll add the blips to it. Okay, so my animation, 1920, 1080, square, 2997. 5 seconds should be good. Hit OK. And I'm going to create a shape layer. Oops. Like that. Draw my shape out. There we go. Fill. Let's just, for now, we'll fill this with that color. Okay, so I'm going to center this. I'm going to hit Y so I can click on this layer and change my pivot to over here. And I'm going to have this like weird wiggle thing like go around this. Okay, so I want to make like a wiggle that will go around it. So I'm going to have this thing grow out. I'll have the wiggle appear. Actually, it might be cooler now that I'm kind of, you know, thinking about it. Whoops, too far. No, let's just keep it simple. All right. Same thing applies if I went vertical with this. You know, you really go crazy with it. So I'm gonna have it grow out. You know, just like that. So I will shrink it back. I will set a keyframe. I will scoot it up a bit. Pull it out. There we go. And make this easy ease. Make this that. And I want it to really impact at the end, meaning go faster at the end. So I'm going to pull my speed graph up to the right. Okay. Too slow. Pull it in more. There we go. So now I feel that it comes out, boom, and then smacks the side. Yep, that's cool. Now, here's what's cool about shape layers. If I don't like the size of this as far as up and down, I can go to the shape layer itself, and I can change the size here. So I can unlink these, shrink this, and it won't affect the animation. See how it still applies? Okay, so that's what one of the nice things about shape layers is you can do that. If I use just a regular solid, I don't have any other parameter to tweak that allows me to do that as easily. Okay, so I'm going to kind of center that. Animation's still good. Alright, so now I'm going to make like a wiggle thing that's going to wrap around this, kind of like it looks like it's coiling. So I'm going to go to my pen tool, make sure I'm clicked off my other shape layer. And I'm going to start here off the screen, and I'll go, say, up here, down there, and I'm just clicking and dragging. And that should be good. Okay, now I don't want the fill, I just want stroke. So I click the fill button, turn it off, click the stroke color, and for the stroke color, I'm going to pick the same pink, but just whiter. There you go. Now crank that stroke thickness up. I will go to my pen tool and just kind of adjust some of my points. So that looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit narrower here, just to help even that out. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want this to go around this, right? So right now it just looks like it's on top of it. I want to feel like it's actually like wrapping around, okay? Especially because I want to also animate this. I think maybe I want to squeeze this into, there we go. And I'm just going to take this first point off screen here, and then just adjust that. There we go. And do the same thing on this one. Just grab this first point, just pull it off. That way it starts off screen, zips on. you know, the path here is actually pretty minimal compared, because I'd be able to tweak this and whatever else later. Alright, so let's get this thing to animate so it zips onto the screen. So I'm just going to simply use my trim paths. That's what we used before. And figure out which direction. And that's the direction I want to go. So I want the thing to come on hit, boom, and then have this end happen, go up a little bit, have that happen. Maybe a little bit more space between these and this. Alright, that feels good. Now let's make this easy ease. Let's go to our graph. Kind of push it towards the end. There you go. So now it kind of feels like you're writing it. There we go. Okay. So that looks nice. Boom. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And cool. Alright. So now what I want to do is I want to get this path here to basically be part of it is behind this and part of it is in front of it. If I take the shape layer and I move this below it, okay, and I should rename these so I know what they are. So this is my wiggle. This is my beam. Okay. So the beam comes out, and you'll see the wiggle does this. Now we can either do the wiggle behind it or in front of it, and you'll see we get, you know, half of what we want. Okay. So what I want to happen is in each one of these areas here, let's say like this area here, I want it to be behind the beam. This area can be in front, this area can be behind, this area can be in front. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate my wiggle. Just hit Control D. And I'm going to just turn one of these off. Okay, we'll just put this one behind it. It's gone right now. So on this wiggle, the one in front, here we go, I need to make sure that these areas are invisible. Okay, so when it comes out and it does that, and then it goes here, it's in front, and then right there, I want it to go behind it. Okay, so in order for it to look like it's going behind it, I need to cut this out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate my beam. Sorry, not duplicate the beam. I'm going to make a brand new shape layer. So what I'm going to do is basically make sure my fill is on, my stroke is off. I'm just going to highlight the areas that I want it to disappear. Okay, so I basically want these to be the behind areas. So then using that same trick we learned before with the track mats, these are my subtracts, call that. I'm going to use my wiggle here, and I'm going to say wiggle subtract from the subtracts. Okay, so you'll see it only shows these areas there. Now what if I invert that? Now we have holes. So it comes in front, disappears right there, comes in front, disappears, comes in front. So now all I have to do is turn on this other wiggle, and that other wiggle is just behind it, so it's just going to fill in those areas. So now it looks like, boom, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Okay, so now it looks like it's actually going behind it, but it's not, obviously. It's just two different layers that make it appear to go behind it. Now, if I wanted to expand on this, let's say I take this up here, obviously I've lost the effect because my subtracts need to also go with it. Okay. But I could take that beam and duplicate it and scoot it down here, and then on my subtracts I would just go into my shapes and I would add other shapes to this. So let's say I added a shape here and here and there. So now it looks like we're actually like weaving. Boom. So it goes under, over, under, over, under, over. Okay, so this isn't something you have to do, but it's definitely something neat that you could play with, especially if you think of the beams as just, you know, different things you can do with them. Let's make that negative 30 or negative 15. There we go. Scoot it down a smidge. Let me scale it up a little bit. So I'm just going to go to my content rectangle, scale it up like that, just so it fills the entire area. I'll do the same thing to this beam. I'll rotate this one, let's say 12 degrees. Put it there, and then I just adjust that same scale property. So we should have pretty much the same animation, right? And then all I have to do is just line up those subtracts. So, oops. Click on this. I may need to open this up. So I can click on my actual things, and then just line them up. Okay, right there it's tricky because they're close to each other, but it still works. Okay, and this is again a technique that you could use not only for this, but for a number of other items. And the way it works is it's just subtracting this first wiggle. It's just basically erasing the first wiggle. If I turn off wiggle 2, you can see where it's just cut. If I turn off wiggle, the first wiggle, you'll see it's just behind it. Okay. All right, so it's a pretty neat little trick. Now, if I change anything to this wiggle, obviously I need to change it to the other one. So if I were to change like the thickness, you can see that that's no longer matching, and I need to fix that stuff. So you want to make sure all of your settings are correct before you go any further. I'd also want to turn on motion blur. Right, so we get a nice little motion blur effect, like that. Also, we probably want to turn on a little bit of offset between these two beams, so they're not right on top of each other. There you go. And if I needed to, I could adjust my wiggles. Click both, hit U, and then I could adjust where these wiggles happen. A nice thing, or a neat thing to do, is if you set your animation to just the very beginning of this, you don't ever have to really touch the keyframes, okay? Because so if I need to adjust these, I don't need to go into the keyframes here and adjust it. All I need to do is scoot this down. You can see that wherever I scoot this, the animation is going to start right at that spot. So if I go here, there goes the animation right at that spot. And because they work together, I need to make sure that they actually move together. Okay, so just another thing just to kind of keep in mind as you're doing your stuff. Alright, so this is the base of the animation. So let's do a little blippy stuff here. Let me rename this Wiggles. The Wiggles. I don't know if you know who the Wiggles are. New comp. These are going to be my blip. So I'm just going to make this 512. Unlock this. 512. 5 seconds for now should be good. And let's see what we want to do. I'm going to do a combination of ellipses and lines. Okay, so double click, makes a circle, leave the fill on, and we'll work with the scale of this. So at the beginning we're at 0, go up a few frames, set it to 100, there it is. Okay, we've done this one pretty much before. Make this easy ease, go to the graph editor. You'll see these steps are the same. I haven't changed anything. I think I want to squeeze it right to the middle. There we go. That looks nice. Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit too quick. Okay. So now I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to offset it. Okay. Then under my switches and modes, I can set this first one to use the this top layer as a alpha matte. Okay. Now that gives me pretty much the same result, so I have to invert it, and now I get a loop, and it disappears. And then we'll remember too that we get this small line right there, and that means I just have to go to my shape layer 2 and give it just a small stroke, like 2 pixels. Okay, so we don't want to just have these lines sticking out because that would look obviously weird. Okay, so there's that. Maybe I'll duplicate this so I have 2 of them and just kind of offset that. A little bit closer. I think maybe 2. Instead of this going all the way up to 100, let me take this down. Experiment. You know, don't be afraid to just try stuff. Say I made it 30. Then I go to this one. I go to my scale. I set that one to 30. There we go. So I got different. Okay, that's kind of cool. Alright, hiding everything. Alright, so that's my circle part of this. Let me call this area circle blip. And then what I want to do is make another kind of composition. I'm going to combine these together. And I still have cleanup to do. Like, this is way too long still. This comp is way too long. This, obviously, I haven't done it yet, but it's going to be way too long. Okay, so I'm going to go with my box. I'm going to go with that there. I'll go to my rotate. Rotate that around. Like that. Trying to get it kind of square like that. Oh, maybe. Alright, I'm not liking the way that box is looking, so I'm just going to just draw a shape here. There we go. I'm going to leave this one flat. Let's do that. Leave that one flat. And so this thing is just going to go like that. Alright, so I'll scale that guy down like this so you can barely see anything, just a tiny little line there. We'll come into our shape path. I'll click on the path keyframe. That's where I want to start it. Maybe I'll be a little bit more accurate. Oops. Just kind of move that right in line with the rest of this. There we go. Okay, so now we're right there. I'll go up a little smidge. Try to grab the right point. Okay, so now it goes. I think I'll have this come up like that. I'm giving me a lot of frames here. I can obviously tweak that after. Go here, and then pull it back down into that area. Okay, so now we go. Okay, and then I just take these, ease them, go to my speed graph. And that's going to look weird. I'm 99% sure it's going to look weird. I need to squeeze these in. Yep. See, it's like... and the reason for that is because when I adjusted my speed graph, make this bigger so you can see it, it's going slow and then fast, and then slow and then fast, and then slow and then fast. Because I have all these keyframes in here, they're going to do that. So what I want to do is just adjust, let's say at the beginning of this. Okay, and then for the rest of these, they're just going to be regular. Just like that. Basically a constant velocity. Let's go here. I can control click on these, make them linear, which makes them a constant velocity. And so what this should give us is just something that doesn't look funky. Alright, so now let's look at it. Alright, that's better. I just need to control the frames here. Those frames need to scoot down a lot. That. Maybe even less. That was like almost a second for that whole thing to happen. I want this to happen like under 15 frames. And now we're under 8 frames. There we go. Alright, so that's cool. So I'm going to cut this layer right here. So I'm going to use Alt, right bracket. Oops, click on it first. Okay, so now we should get this. And then what I also want to do is let's try doing a little opacity on the bottom of this. So I don't want this line to be really visible. I want this thing to show, but not the way it is. I don't need the stroke on here, so I can get rid of that. Let's see if that gets rid of it. Yeah, that pretty much does. Okay. I just don't want something to be showing there, you know, at the beginning. That's cool. And again, motion blur, motion blur. Okay, that's cool, cool, cool. And then maybe for the color, instead of this pink color, I'll just get it to a blue color. And I think too what I want to do is just go in with my pen tool right here. I'm going to fan that out some. There you go. So it gives it a more interesting look right there at the end. Cool. Alright, so this is going to be a swipe. Let's call that a swipe. Alright, so I'm going to go to my circle blip. And then what I want to do is add my swipe in here. I'll just scoot the swipe down a little bit. Alright, I think I need to scale it up because it's just too tiny. Alright, and then I'll also rotate it, so 45 degrees. That's cool. And let me go to right there. Maybe I'll move it up a bit so it's kind of centered better. That's cool. And I'll duplicate it. I'll rotate it negative 45 degrees, so it rotates the other way. So I basically have an X here. I'll just give it a little bit of offset. And I think I'm going to go a little bit more than negative 45. I'll go to 135. Let's scoot it down. Okay. So now I get it basically going the other direction. Alright, so now we get this cool. Alright, awesome. Cool. So now let's take this circle blip. Let's go to Wiggles. And we'll drop the circle blip into the top here. And then, remember we have all this extra space, right? So when I play the animation, we have all this extra junk in my circle blip. So let's go back to circle blip right quick. Let's find out where it ends, right there. Shrink our work area by hitting N. And then trim our comp to the work area. That way it's nice and neat, so when we go back to Wiggles, that's our clip. Alright, so now it's going to hit there. So I want that circle blip to happen right about there. Okay, so I'm just going to put that right about there. And then we'll go up a little bit more until that one hits. I'll duplicate it. Have another one happen. And we'll offset it some. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. Oops. A little bit more down. That's good. I think we need to just move the one circle blip just closer to the edge here. Because they're going to the same spot, you know, it's going to be like on top of each other. Okay, let's see it again. Cool. Okay, so it's pretty awesome. Boom, boom. Cool. Now what we can do, just for giggles, we wait for our internet. And we look for Freedom Hill. I'm going to Freedom Hill and see some movies. Sound effects. So we want free sound effects, because what would be even awesomer is if we took that little blip thing we have here and we added, you know, some nice sound effects to it. So let's hit play now. Now, game sound correct. That could be neat. No. That's kind of cool. Okay, so I'm looking at just the main page here, but obviously you could hit any of these tags to find something. You could search for it. You do have to register. It is free. You do have to remember your password. That's important too. Hooray! I remember my password. I think it was a boom kick one. What's this? I mixed some thunder sounds here. Sensor bleep. Don't need that. No. That's cool. Alright, I'll just grab that. So I'm going to go to boom kick. And I'm going to download. And I'm going to copy and paste that into my D drive. 2200 Phillips. Make a new sounds folder and paste it there. Okay, so now in After Effects, I can just drag this in here. Just drag that sound right into my work area. And then I drag it down into hither. And then where I want that to happen, like right there, just drag my sound. Okay, and again, you want to get it, you know, you don't want to line it up perfectly, because otherwise it might be a little bit late. So now let's listen and see. So I hit the space bar. No, it's a little bit, feels a little early. Now it's a little bit late. Alright, now I'm going to duplicate it because we have two of them. And I'll just offset one. That's cool. Let me set my work area because I'm getting really sick of rewinding. So I'm going to hit N right there. That's cool. And then we could go to this tab, and then we could look for like a wave sound or a warble sound or something. No. I want it short. There's a time stamp right there, so I want something that's just like that, but longer. Nope. Nope. Nope, that's annoying. That could be interesting. Taking too long. Alright, let's just say we're going to go with that one. So I'm going to download that. It'll say, do you want to save it? I'm going to say, of course I want to save it. Save the file. There you go. And I think Sonic is a good starting point with that because it might give me some cool... Nope. Some cool hits. That's way too long. Yeah, maybe not Sonic. Another one might be kind of like a laser sound. Hardest thing about finding sounds is just, you know, doing the research. Yeah, that's kind of neat too. Download that one. We'll save it. And this is something that, you know, you don't have to add these to it, but I want to show it because it's important to see. Because it could really add a whole lot of neatness and completeness to your animation. No. Alright. Just for fun, we'll grab that one too. Alright, so there's my sounds. Go back to After Effects. Drop them in. I'm starting to get extra stuff in here, so I really want to start organizing this so it doesn't get too cluttered. So I'll make a comps. Oops, I'll make a sound folder. Drag the sound folder out of the comps folder. There we go. Drop my comps in the comp. Put my sounds in the sound. There we go. All right. So now I can go into here and see what this is. If I double click it and hit the space bar, I can play it. Then I can just close that. We'll use this. I'll drag this down. I like to keep all the sounds together, so whether it's on top or on the bottom, it's really up to you. So that's when that's going to kick in, right about here. Now to line this up, I want to see where this animation actually starts, so the sound starts. So I tap L twice. There's the animation right here. Boop, boop, boop. So you can see all of these are different instances of that same sound. So I'm basically just going to go to the end of one of these and hit N. Oops, not N. Alt right bracket. There we go. So we just have one sound effect. I don't need all of them. Let's see what happens. Let's scoot that in a little bit later. It's kind of neat. Let's see what this one would do. I can turn off the sound by clicking on the sound thing here. Double click L. Line that up to about where I had the other one start. Too loud, I can turn it down here. Pull these decibels down. Alright. Now let's see what else. We got this one. Turn off the previous one. Click that. Double click L. Yeah, this one's a long one. This is minutes long. I don't know why I grabbed this one. That's kind of neat there. Okay, I'm going to go to the end of that. I'm going to Alt right click to shrink it. Now it's going to sound weird. I need to adjust it. So it's just kind of like stopping. Okay, so I could animate, if I hit L once, I could animate this, which is the levels. Okay, so I'm going to open up my waveform so I can see it. And I'm going to go to here, set a key, go back a little bit, and then crank it down. Go to the same thing at the end. I'll set a keyframe here, so it's at 0. I'll go up a little bit. I'll crank it down. And that's just going to help kind of fade the sound in. Maybe even in the middle here, I can even crank it up some. Okay. Yeah, that's neat. All right. So lots of different options here to really play with what the end product looks like. Just for fun, we'll turn all three on. Doesn't really work. Yeah, that one's alright. Okay. And then just looking back at some of the other techniques we've used to kind of help complete and finish this piece off, the black background is kind of blah, so I'll add a solid, 1920 by 1080, drop it to the bottom. I'll add a generate a ramp, gradient ramp. I'll make it radial. I'll move the midpoint here. I'll move this midpoint, this point way over there. And that's cool like that. I'm going to duplicate this layer. Okay, so I have two solids. One of them is going to have a ramp. The other one is not going to have a ramp. Okay, and the one that doesn't have a ramp, the bottom one, I'm just going to delete the ramp. The one that does have the ramp, the top one, I'm going to hit my switches in mode and just change its mode here, just like Photoshop has, to multiply. And you'll see what it does. It just kind of darkens that. I'm also going to add some ramp scatter. Okay, just so you can see what that is. It's basically a little bit of noise. Sometimes these ramps can not look nice. So we add a little bit of scatter to it, and that helps kind of fix some of the issues that we would have. Okay, pick a different color, so I can go to my solid here, go to my solid settings. I'll eyedrop that color there. That's kind of neat. That's pretty neat like that. If anything, maybe I'll go. No, I like the color it was on. That one. Okay. This is a little bit too strong, so I can hit T for opacity and just tone that down a bit. That looks cool. I could also go here to my end of ramp. So this, click on this, and I'll get these little manipulators. Pull it out, pull it in, to really control that effect. Okay. Sometimes you're too close. You can see the circle. You don't want to see that. So I pull it out far enough so I don't see that circle. Okay, and then some other things that we've done in the past, we could try adding some effects to it, but with what we've done to this already, it might look kind of wonky. So we'll just try it and say. So if I go to my wiggle, and I go to my effect, perspective, there we go, drop shadow, and take the distance up, take the softness up. You'll see we're going to get this weird halo behind this box just because of how that's kind of lined up. So some of these things we can't really use too much because of how this is all set up. So not going to be doing that. We could look at, where's the generate again? Generate. Gradient ramp. You can see I can even put a ramp on this. Now, this wiggle and that wiggle need to have the same kind of thing to it. Now, let me try something real quick. There's a drop shadow. Just copy the drop shadow to this one and paste it. Yeah, we're still getting the same thing. Okay, I just had to verify it. So if I add a gradient ramp to this and I copy it just so you can see and paste it, you'll see it'll be the same exact thing. It all matches up. So you don't have to stick with a single color on any of these. You could adjust your colors accordingly. Remember too, we can also go up to, this is our wiggle, which is a stroke, but we can click on the stroke and we can fill it with a gradient. Okay, and then we can change the colors of the gradient by clicking on that and adjusting the colors accordingly. Alright, so for now this is neat. I'm going to actually take this, come on, scoot down. There it is. This solid that has the gradient that gives me the darkness here, I'm going to pull this up to the top above all my other layers. That's odd. Not sure why bringing it to the top did that. It appears that something else is using it. Set this to normal. Let me diagnose for a second. Alright, so my bottom layer here is the same color as those strokes. That's why it disappeared. Let me go to my solid settings. Click that. There we go. That's cool. Alright, now I can probably take the ramp scatter down a bit on this, because now it's over everything. So there we go. And then even take the opacity down some. So it gives us a little bit more depth. Okay. While still looking pretty sweet. Alright, so let me save this. I'm going to trim my comp also to the end of the animation. And there we go.